So next segment here I have is eyeball test. All right. Like who passed the eyeball test this week and like who made loud statements. I have a list of 4, and I don't want to take up all of them because I think you guys will hit on some. But I'm going to start with my 4 that just passed the eyeball test with flying colors. I said Arizona State earlier. Yes. North Carolina sweeping Texas Tech, who I still think Texas Tech is going to be a good team this year. Like what North, like I don't know how to put it into words, but that team's different. Like that North Carolina team, those are professional players on a college team. And you're not going to win on Friday nights against North Carolina. Like you're just not beating DeCaro. Like I think he's highly underrated, only a sophomore, only 18 years old as a sophomore, and was just as composed as can be. He looks like a mini Justin Verlander. The offense is fabulous. I think North Carolina is a lock to host a regional and host a super regional and get to Omaha. I love that team, and I usually don't love North Carolina teams. This year, I love them.
Hey,
Yeah,
I was just going to say, we'll know a lot about Texas this weekend. They play UC Irvine at home in West Texas. So that would be the massive series, Texas Tech and UC Irvine.
yeah. Texas Tech, UC Irvine in Lubbock will be good. That'll say a lot about both of those teams. Here's another Texas team, TCU. I know they're playing later today in San Diego for a 4-game series, but to go into San Diego and sweep the weekend, obviously there's a Monday game too, but to sweep the weekend against the Toreros is hard to do. And like they did it in kind of a dominant fashion. TCU, Kirk Sarlos, Jack's boys, scary group. And they're without their best player too, like their best pitcher. He's getting Tommy John, isn't he?
Ben Abel, right?
Ben Abel. That's crazy. So TCU passed the eyeball test. I was watching those games late at night. They're elite. Good team. And the last team, Cincinnati, passed the eyeball test. Like you beat Duke once, okay, cool. You go to extra innings, you lose game 2. All right, well, like they're actually a pretty good team, right? Then you go on Sunday and win 18-5. Like that solidifies yourself as a top 25 team. First time they've ever been ranked in the top 25 in program history for at least D1baseball.com. Big momentum there for Coach Bischel. And remember, he was at Central Michigan when they had those really good Central Michigan teams back in like the late 2010s, early 2020s. So he seems like somebody that might get offered a fat paycheck at the end of this year if Cincinnati does well. But they passed the eyeball test. To go into Duke, beat the number 12 team in the country 2 out of 3 in like a convincing fashion, good for Cincinnati. Do you guys want to add any teams to the eyeball test?
Santa Barbara, I mean, we all knew they were good, so not much of an eyeball test to pass. But the amount of arms they brought out that were just 94, 95 plus was unbelievable. Campbell looked not great. They didn't look very good. But Santa Barbara put up double-digit runs, which they never do. They picked the hell out of the ball. I think UC Irvine and Santa Barbara could be a 1A and 1B in the Big West. I mean, one or both could potentially host. They're that good. They are that good. I'm not sure what's going on with Tyler Bremner. I haven't heard any news. He came out early Friday. That's probably the best arm in the country besides Jamie Arnold. So Santa Barbara passed the eyeball test. Another West Coast team. I don't even know if they're West Coast. They're just an island team. Hawaii, 4-game sweep of Marshall. I mean, Marshall's not a dog walk in the park. They're not great, but they're to sweep them 4-0 in dominating fashion. I really liked what I saw from Hawaii this weekend.
Wait. Stop real fast about Hawaii. We got to talk about this. I think I'm rooting for Marshall to win the Sun Belt now, just to help Hawaii host a regional.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Like if Marshall just somehow goes out and wins the Sun Belt, it's going to help Hawaii's cause.
Hawaii's got Wichita State for 4 this weekend, then Northeastern for 4 next weekend. If they can find a way to dominate these next 2 weekends, because I think Northeastern's going to be just fine this year. I think Wichita State's going to win a lot of games. So, hey, Marshall's going to have it 100 to 125 RPI, maybe in the top 100 if they have a couple big wins in Sun Belt play this year. But, hey, Hawaii has a shot. It's not dead yet. you said it. North Carolina passed the eyeball test. Should we bet? I don't know if Jack had any other team before we talk about teams that failed the eyeball test.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm glad that you talked about Cincinnati, Ben. I know D1 baseball, and I thought they did it appropriately. I'm not ready to hit the panic button if I'm Duke. Like, I'm glad that they only dropped a couple spots, but we put Cincinnati in and respect the team for going on the road and challenging themselves in the ACC. You're right, Coach Bishel. That was a really impressive weekend. I wanted to talk about them. Oregon State. I mean, like, I know it's like an easy one, like you're a top 10 team, like with a lot of like aspirations of getting back to Omaha, but like we obviously all understand how difficult their RPI is. So for them to go into surprise Arizona and take care of business and just dismantle teams, really, like from top to bottom, just dismantle them, just so deep. Whether it was Ava or Caraway, like they're so deep on the mound as well. I thought they were really impressive. But if you guys thought for 1 second that I wasn't going to sit here and brag on the George Mason Patriots for passing the eyeball test, here's the deal. I couldn't help myself. You're 2 pitches away from sweeping in the jungle. You obviously dropped the weekend set. East Carolina wins in winning moments. They go walk-off style and then win another run game. But for a team that, if you remember, shout out to Sean Camp in his first year as the head coach 2 years ago. They win the A-10. They beat Northeastern and Maryland in a regional. Obviously, as a graduate, I've got a lot of pride in that place. But to go into the jungle, and I don't care if they've relocked and reloaded or it's a new ball club, like it's a tough place to play. And I thought George Mason handled himself well with the big fella, James Quinn Iron and company. And a free shout out, our guy, Tyler Nealon, that you guys are both a big fan of. Incredible coach, having a baby. So shout out to Tyler Nealon, girl dad, and absolutely incredible outing in the jungle. Great weekend for the Nealons.
Well, congrats, Coach Nealon. Hey, here's somebody else. If we're doing players to pass the eyeball test, I got 3. Number 1, Rintaro Sasaki. All the preseason hype the guy was getting from number 1 high school baseball prospect in the last 10 years. They call him the Japanese Prince Fielder. He went something like 8 for 12 this weekend with 8 RBIs and 3 doubles off the wall that were just crushed on the line. He was a freak.
Ben, I got to say something. I literally had a tweet in the draft from last night. I just tweeted it about Rintaro Sasaki. Guys, Stanford is a Nike school. He is wearing ASICs. The only player wearing ASICs. Does ASICs control the rights to every single Japanese baseball player? Because there's no way Nike is saying we've got a very, very popular, highly promotable player now wearing our Nike product. Like I wonder what happened in the negotiation, because that's just not going to happen normally. He literally probably told him I'm wearing ASICs.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like an NIL deal or something. I'm not too sure on the specifics.
Like, how crazy is that? You can't just wear your own stuff. The school, whatever school, you're Under Armour, Nike, whatever. He is wearing ASICs. I've never seen that before.
I'll tell you what, if he hits 108 mile per hour backside doubles, they'll let him wear Crocs out there if he wants to.
Exactly. And he's going to be so big for Stanford this year. Like Stanford I'm not going to say finally because they've had guys in the past, but he's just somebody that you can anchor in the 3-hole or 4-hole in the lineup every game and just know that he's better than every pitcher that he's going to face. Like he really is. Like the way he waits on off-speed pitches, he's always on time. He's going to be so good for so long for them. I'm glad to see he's in college baseball. That's huge for the sport. Somebody else that passed the eyeball test, which I should pass this to Jack, but our boy, Sugar Shane Lewis is back, baby. After a tough 2024 season, coming off a 27 home run performance in 2023, 3 homers this weekend, and the balls were torched. Swinging with confidence. Love seeing that. He was always, he's always been a fan favorite of ours on the show. Like we love Shane Lewis, love the Troy Trojans, and it's scary when he's hot. Like in swinging a confident bat, he makes that team so much better. So good for him. And I hope he continues that the rest of the way. I got to mute real fast. I'm about to cough. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I think Rintaro Sasaki is going to be a household name by the end of the year. I think he can single-handedly keep Stanford relevant. Some people are not very high on Stanford this year, but I think they're going to just reload. I mean, it's just what they do. That's what David Esquire does out there. Speaking of Esquire, he's got a son that plays somewhere down the road.
Yeah, it's Santa Barbara, right?
Yep.
And we
he had a 3-rounder.
Really nice guy.
Yep. Hey, what team did not pass the eyeball test?
I have one more player.
Go.
And Jack's got a few players. Can we talk about Dax Whitley of Oregon State? True freshman, just blowing 98-mile-an-hour fastballs by people. He's got a unique arm action. I guess it's kind of the trendy way to throw a baseball now. But what I think is fascinating, and this tweet got over 1 million views. He's from Idaho, like the state of Idaho. Played Idaho baseball, which I don't even know if anybody from Idaho's ever made the big leagues. And maybe I'm wrong.
It's the potatoes.
What?
You eat potatoes, you throw gas. It's very simple.
Good job, Dimitri. But he went 10-0 with a .27 ERA and had 130 strikeouts and 52 innings pitched as a senior. We need to interview one of the players he faced in high school. We got to go find an Idaho high school baseball player that faced him, because that doesn't happen in any other sport. If this is high school football or high school basketball, some academy in Florida or California or somewhere is scooping them up and hey, we will pay for you and your family to move to us, and we will you come play for our team and we'll make it right. But no, this is just Idaho. I'm just going to hang out at my parents' house and throw gas and never have to worry about getting a hit or a run scored off of me.
Imagine waking up at 6 a.m., going to work on the farm, feed the chicken, lay some hay out for the horses, go to class for a couple hours, and then face 98 on Friday night.
Yeah.
Buddy, I'm not playing. These guys are not playing baseball after high school. They're just playing baseball, having a good time working on the ranch. And they're like, dude, I got to face this guy? Well, I guess that's the highlight of most of their careers. Every guy he faced was the highlight of their career.
Yeah. He's a big leaguer, though. I mean, elite stuff. He's gonna be big for Oregon State this year. All right, Jack, what are some players that pass the eyeball test for you week 1?
I think there are 3 guys that I think are all very crucial to their team's success this year. The first being, we talked about North Carolina, I think Gavin Gallagher. We forget, he's so young and so good at that hot corner for the Tar Heels. You think moving forward, there's a lot of conversation with a lot of pieces on that team. I forgot how freaking good he is. Second, Brody Donay may have been made in a laboratory. I know we joked about it a lot last year. When I saw him at the Super Regional in Omaha with Florida, we forget, he's quite literally a defensive end for their football team, and they gave him a bat, and he's just going to hurt people. That's my second. My third, seeing him in person, if this guy hits a 050, he's still going to get drafted. Seeing Jonathan Bastien field it for Vanderbilt at shortstop, throwing 95-mile-per-hour rockets across the infield was an absolute freaking treat to watch. With so many Vandy big leaguers in the building, David Price was at a couple of those games. Dansby Swanson was at that game because it was at the Cubs, obviously spring training facility. You look at a guy like Dansby Swanson and Bastien, the bat's still got a long way to go, but they're going to be big league teams that take this kid high in the draft. If he hits a $110 this year, that's how good the glove was. So seeing that in person was insane.
Love it. Dimitri, who are 3 players for you?
I mean, we talked about Jared Spencer. I think he went from Indiana State, had a little bit of that postseason experience, but to step up in the biggest stage, first start in a Texas uniform, the lights were not too bright in the big league stadium, and he went six shutout innings, six shutout innings in Louisville. It was like clockwork for him. He stepped right into that role really well. Max Wiener had that guy prepared, and I'm excited to see how much better he gets working with Max Wiener all season long. I think he's going to be one of the best. He's going to compete with Jamie Arnold for one of the best lefty starters in the country on Friday night. So I was really impressed with him because it's not easy. It's really easy to get caught up in the new Texas uniform, big league stadium. It's really easy to get caught up, and he's just business as usual for him. Stetson's whole line of breaks. I was really impressed with Jaden Hilton. He hit 3 home runs this weekend for them. really, really, really impressed with them. Murph Gray got up to a great start with Fresno State. I don't have many guys. You guys nailed them. You guys pretty much said them all.
Hey, can I give us a quick round of applause though? I'm really glad nobody said Jace Laviolette. Hey, congratulations on us. He's really good. Anytime he breathes this year, we're gonna pump the hell out of it, aren't we? As a college baseball world.
He's what I like to call better than the league. All right. Like he's better than the league he's playing in. And like Gavin Grahovic's not too far behind him. Like those guys we used to say it with Kyle Lewis all the time. When Kyle Lewis was in the SoCon, it's like, dude, he won the Golden Spikes in the SoCon. He's better than anybody else around, except Jace Laviolette is doing it in the SEC. He's a freak, dude. Like a freak specimen. Plays center field at 6'6", 240. Like freak. Dimitri, you kind of touched on this, and I wanted to bring this up. We're spoiled with elite left-handed pitching out of the SEC this year. Think about it. Well, okay, I'll say SEC and then also Florida State. They're ACC, but between Jamie Arnold, who I was looking at his advanced metrics and stuff for his start, I saw the charts. Yeah, that's like unicorn stuff. That's Chris Sale stuff, like right off the bat. Ryan Prager from Texas A&M is going to be really good all year long. Zach Root looked unbelievable for Arkansas on Saturday. Was a big fan of Zach Root. Obviously, we touched on Jared Spencer, and then Cade Anderson from LSU. Cade Anderson's a freak as well. Like, all five of those guys, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some as well.
What about Elliott from Ole Miss? He's back from Tommy John.
Hunter Elliott.
Hunter Elliott. Back. I mean, you guys remember him in Omaha 2 years ago. He won them that national championship. That's a
true freshman.
He's got experience. He's got all kinds of experience. He's got it all. And he's back from Tommy John. Looked pretty good this weekend. But that's another lefty starter. There's so many of them in the SEC.
Well, hey, I saw one on Friday night that was pretty dang good. Silenced a good GCU lineup. J.D. Thompson at Vanderbilt was fantastic.
I forget about J.D. Thompson, too.
Hey, what about Randy Johnson from Florida?
Oh, dude, that's a cheat code, too. To have Pierce Capola as your number 3 starter. That's crazy.
You know what's crazy? His college numbers are pretty bad, but his stuff. If you didn't know this stat, you would have thought sub-2 ERA guy for 4 straight years at Florida. But I mean, lefties all over the place in the SEC.
It's a good time to be a left-handed pitcher fan.